Hello all and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. Thank you again for the recent love and support on yesterday's video exploring the staking rewards over on Stader Labs' new Hedera or HBAR platform. Hopefully that's given you guys a bit more information as to how those rewards will increase over time via the phases. If you haven't caught that video, I suggest you go and check it out as it really does break down. I've also linked the spreadsheet that I put together in the pinned comments of that video description so that you guys can go and take a look at your own leisure and punch some different figures in to get an understanding of how the staking rewards or APY will change over time depending on TVL as well as other things as well. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit more around about sort of staking, DeFi on Hedera, why I think the price is going to continue to increase and we're looking for a sort of upwards breakout. I'm also going to cover some information on Ripple as the SEC cases move forward ever so slightly, as well as another project called Casper or CSPR, which is sort of doing the rounds at the moment on Twitter and people are sort of talking about it and drawing comparisons. So I will pick up on that in this video. Talking about Hedera in general, if we look at the price action, not much on the daily, 0.14%. On the 7-day position, I think we're sort of down over 10, maybe towards 15%. However, we are again gearing back up. We're in that resistance zone. This is a fantastic opportunity to continue buying. Even when we were pumping up here towards the sort of 25, 26 cent range, I was still looking to accumulate. As long as we break that range and say go past the 30 cent range, I don't think we're going to revisit those prices anytime soon in the near future, if ever at all. As I've said, April is a massive month. We started it off. We're 10 days in. The staking is now live. That's kicked off DeFi. SourceSwap is following up the rear very quickly with their DEX solution. I'm sure we'll be seeing news from them in the coming sort of days and weeks regarding a formal launch and a formal announcement. We've got other DEXs in the works as well, like Tangent Finance backed by Hedera Starter. Hedera Starter themselves are beginning to roll out within April as well. So there is so much going on, and the utility for the HBAR token comes with this decentralized finance ecosystem that is being built as we speak and will be rolling out over the coming weeks. This was just the first stake in the ground for Hedera's fledgling ecosystem, which will continue to grow. And the more utility we bring to HBAR as a token, the more demand we're going to see. Not only that as well, you think at the moment, because the Stader Labs staking platform does not have an unstake feature till July, that means any liquidity or HBAR tokens that get locked up in that liquidity pool, the single-sided staking pool on Stader's platform, cannot be unstaked currently. Therefore, that is effectively a supply reduction or circulating supply reduction. So any token amount we see locked up in that pool then cannot be bought or sold. Therefore, if you do see increased demand, that is positive price action in general across the board. So I'm continuing to look to buy up as many Hedera tokens as I still can. I think we've probably got about 4 weeks or so to really get in at these price levels, maybe even less than that, before we do really see a massive breakout towards the upside, which I don't think we're going to see again. So I'm still incredibly bullish on Hedera, and I'm still pumping my bags and staking portions of that over on Stader's platform. I think I touched on it in a previous video. I am looking to stake roughly 30% of my position on Stader's platform currently. That then leaves me with the remaining 70% odd of my position, which I'll be using to invest in projects, NFT projects like Dead Pixels coming on the 26th of April. Anything else on SourceSwap's platform as well, obviously a lot of utility via the NFTs there, as well as other projects in the ecosystem. I want to have that liquid HBAR available to me in order for me to utilize throughout the ecosystem. Not for me to sell, but for me to get in early on these up and coming projects, of which I will be covering on this channel in depth as they come out and roll out over the coming weeks. So please make sure you're subscribed so that you get ahead of the game when it comes to those projects. Talking about that as well, I want to say a big sort of thank you or shout out to all of you. My video yesterday, the staking rewards explained, was actually posted on the Hedera subreddit by someone, a user called Jeep Top Down, and sort of a load of comments ensued off the back of that. As I said, if you've not seen this video, make sure you check it out, as it's sort of very informative, I think anyway, to try and explain what's going on with those staking rewards. Talking about that as well, the tweets that I posted out went kind of semi-viral throughout the Hedera community, if you could say that. They got a lot of attention, and off the back of that, the name escapes me, you'll be able to find him on Twitter, has just put together this HBAR TVL tracker, which talks about the current phase we're in. So we're in the capped phase with the current emission rate of 2000 HBAR. Again, I explained this in yesterday's video, but I also quite like the TVL statistics. So we can see here the 12-hour change. We've already seen an increase of nearly 6 million HBAR over 12 hours. Obviously, that's lowered the APY again to roughly 2.2%. That APY APY is going to increase massively. Once we come out of this capped phase, the emission rate is going to increase to 300,000 HBAR per 24 hours instead of 2,000 HBAR. Live TVL statistics currently at nearly 33.4 million HBAR locked up. So a massive portion of TVL there already gaining momentum. Something else I wanted to show as well, I'll leave this link down in the description. Found this on one of the Hedera subreddits, and it's just the Hashgraph consensus algorithm visualized. Now, this is a very simplistic visualization of the Hashgraph algorithm. It's far more complex in reality. However, we press the key here, we can see it drawing the Hashgraph effectively of how this gets run. So you can see on round one, Bob himself sends the transaction or the piece of information to Carol. And then in round two, Carol then is able to send this to Frank. At the same time, Bob is then issuing the next piece of information as well across to Hank. And then in round three, it expands. So you've got this exponential increase of information being spread. And obviously, because it's exponential, it means you've got the speed there. And that's how this gossip to gossip protocol works. I'll leave this link down in the description for you guys to have a play around with, but it's just a nice visualization of the underlying mechanisms of the Hashgraph consensus algorithm. Flicking over, I just wanted to touch on SourceSwap again. There's only 320 strong nuclear NFTs left out of the 1,000. I think some confusion around this. These numbers count down to 0. So what we see here is 1,809 of 2,500 are remaining. Therefore, there are only 1,809 weak nuclears available. If we talk about the strong nuclear, only 320 left. This therefore means there are only 320 complete sets effectively available directly from SourceSwap as a platform. Don't forget, if you collect the set, you then get an additional NFT, the electromagnetic NFT. Covered that in a previous video on my channel. However, that gives you some very nice rewards in terms of airdrop and source Faucet multipliers, which means you'll pick up those source tokens. I've already somehow managed to accumulate, I think, 2,500 source tokens from the 8-hour source pool drops. So it's quite lucrative at the moment in terms of pulling on that faucet to get the additional source early, as well as this complete set obviously giving you an airdrop amount of roughly 60,000 source tokens when it goes live if you complete the set and get the bonus. Just wanted to drop that in there. And another reminder, obviously I'll be talking about this further in coming weeks, but the 26th is when the Dead Pixels project is going to be launching. Incredibly excited for this over on Turtle Moon, so make sure you've got a Turtle Moon account set up and linked to a wallet. Let's quickly talk about Casper for a second. So lots of information I've seen and people talking about Casper. So I think Nick has mentioned it a few times on Twitter and in some of his videos recently as being a bit of a hidden gem. Potentially it is. Obviously it's got a very low market cap, as we can see here, roughly £300 million, sort of if you round up. So some of you may be wondering sort of what is Casper and kind of what it is. If we look at the project info here over on CoinMarketCap, we can sort of see the token distribution. It's got some fairly nice tokenomics actually in terms of the breakdown. So you've obviously got the non-profit Casper Association in there, some validator sales, CoinList public offerings, advisors team, holdings, and developer incentives for the network. So a really nice structure in terms of the tokenomics. Now, what is sort of Casper? So if we kind of talk about Casper anyway, the similarities between Casper and Hedera are they're both proof of stake and they both can run smart contracts. Now that's kind of where the similarities really end, and there are some differences. The differences kind of being Hedera has native consensus services. Hedera also has native token services. Hedera has native scheduled transactions. Hedera also has native custom token fees. Hedera, on top of this, has native multi-signature accounts. Hedera will also have native liquidity services. Hedera naturally has the governing council, which I've covered many times. Hedera also has an active enterprise developer community. 100% finality within 3 to 5 seconds is achievable on Hedera. It's also ABFT. And also Hedera uses delegated proof of stake. Staked tokens aren't at risk of slashing. That's not confirmed over on Casper. So realistically, Casper is really more of a sort of smart contract platform. They're kind of looking for that integration. It doesn't really hold a candle per se to Hedera's current infrastructure and technology stack, which I think a lot of us have come to realize why Hedera kind of is the #1 in the layer 1 space at the moment. Its tech far surpasses majority of these other projects. Nevertheless, Casper is an interesting project itself. It does appear to be undervalued in comparison to some of the similar projects within the space, and it's something that I will continue to watch with a close eye. I may even pick up a few tokens here or there for the potential of some free alpha or price appreciation towards the upside if we do see a bull market condition return in the coming months, which seems very, very likely. However, my number one mainstay will continue to be Hedera, just because the technology's there and the ecosystem is developing at quite a rate, and it's very, very nice to see. Moving on, just looking at some general market overview stuff. WatchGuru just posted cryptocurrency exchange visits have increased to 360 million in March, 6% increase over February. So we're seeing this continued narrative. As I said, my predictions are on for sort of May, June sort of time to see the altcoin season really start to take off. And we're seeing these numbers of exchange visits increase, purchasing volumes are increasing for lots of these projects, and there's new money and liquidity flowing back into the cryptocurrency markets. Obviously, you've got Terra Luna buying up millions upon millions of Bitcoin at the same time. You know, everything is kind of happening in the crypto space at the moment. We're seeing more and more projects roll out. Metaverse adoption is increasing rapidly by mainstay companies, and we're seeing this general narrative that cryptocurrency is not only here to stay, but it's also the future, and obviously we are the early ones within the space. So some more bullish statistics here in general for the cryptocurrency markets, and I'm absolutely loving every minute of it. Fantastic tweet here as well by Zepsi, summarizing what effectively happened yesterday. I know it was backed by a lot of projects. I saw SourceSwap, Hashpack, Dead Pixels, everyone was getting involved to tweet at Coinbase to list HBAR. So hopefully they noticed it. They actually managed to get it trending on Twitter for several hours. So fingers crossed that Coinbase see this and list it. I don't think a Coinbase listing is as big of a deal or is as required as a lot of people think. However, it can't hurt. And obviously with Coinbase having a large volume of the transactional volume for cryptocurrency purchases via centralized exchanges, it would be very beneficial for HBAR to be exposed to that per se Nubia avenue of buying cryptocurrency. For example, Coinbase obviously a lot more simplistic than Binance and a lot easier to use and set up accounts. So it would be very nice, and we'd gain additional liquidity and holders via Coinbase if it does get listed. I'll keep on top of this news to see if anything comes out of it. However, we all have our fingers crossed. Talking about Casper as well, if you guys are sort of interested in that project in general, it appears as of the 5th of April, they do now have staking, so you can now stake together with the Casper army. And there's a Medium article here. I will try and leave this link down in the description. I'm sure you guys can find it via Google. One thing to note is that from what I saw, if you look to buy Casper, there are only very few exchanges at the moment. I don't think it's listed on Binance. I did see it listed on crypto.com. And obviously you'd have to buy on those kind of exchanges. Make sure you're not buying on exchanges, for example, like Uphold, which I think severely limit the ability to withdraw certain tokens unless they're popular tokens from the wallet. I stay well clear of centralized exchanges which lock down particular cryptos because they're not popular, in air quotes, enough to deem withdrawals necessary. I think that's completely backwards and violates a lot of sort of privacy and sort of free will when it comes to the crypto market. So bear that in mind if you are purchasing these kinds of tokens. Make sure you're buying it on exchanges which enable you to actually release those tokens to wallets of your choosing. Don't forget the old saying, not your keys, not your crypto. Lastly, I just wanted to touch on some Ripple news. As I've said many times, I don't think we're going to see any price action at all realistically of Ripple until this case is dead and buried or has some pending resolution. However, there's been some bullish news on the 8th of April, so a couple of days now ago, where Ripple actually scored a win against the SEC's damning, as their SEC's damning emails were revealed. You have a bar under the criminal financial conflict with Simpson. So the SEC Ethics Counsel, Shira Minton, sent an email to Bill Hinman on January the 5th, 2018, stating the analysis is the same for Simpson as it's always been. You have a bar under the criminal financial conflict with Simpson because you have an ongoing financial interest in the firm. Meeting with them while having such a conflict is not permitted. As we discussed during your briefing, even calls with them are not permitted. It's also a serious optics issue. You can't be seen to be granting special access to a firm you have financial interests in. This meeting is small enough to raise concerns. So we can see here effectively there was some shadiness going on behind the scenes where some of the people investigating and part of the case had financial interest in competitor sort of companies. We can see here Hinman didn't just have retirement benefits, he also had an ongoing financial interest in the success of Simpson Thacher. The better his law firm did, the better he did. Helping clients equaled money. Ethics told him not to meet with his partners, yet he continued. He was a double agent, said John Deaton, attorney for the 65,000 XRP holders in the XRP lawsuit. So we can see here, Judge will be soon ruling on the SEC's motion for reconsideration in regard to the production of the plaintiff's internal documents. Much has been said about them, and many legal experts have shared their suspicions that these emails and notes could destroy the SEC's case against Ripple. The emails revealed by Empower Oversight focus only on the issues of conflict of interest. So hopefully we start to see more revelations come from this space, and the case may end up getting tossed out on grounds of misuse of financial interest between the prosecutors. So that kind of wraps up this video. I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this one, sort of all over the place in terms of different projects to look at. HBAR is obviously coming along in leaps and bounds. There'll be some more great videos coming out next week from me regarding the DeFi space in general. Don't forget, in a couple of days, we will start to see Stader talk about lifting that phase capped, or the capped phase, and move into phase 1. We're going to see a massive explosion in staking rewards, so make sure you're staked. I'll leave a video down in the description of how to stake on Stader's platform, and also how to get your HBAR out of Binance if you use that exchange and onto your Hashpack wallet. Anyway, guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter. Lots of information from me posted over there. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.